In this video, I'm going to tell you about 7 different ways that you can do chores with your family and tips and tricks and kind of theory behind. So the reason I was going to make this video, well, we've moved for one. So the chores are different and our kids are getting older, and then some of the younger ones can help now. So we kind of need to revamp our whole chore system, because what we've been doing for the last, 16, 17 years hadn't been really working very well, and there's lots of people not doing their chores, and then us frustrated, us doing a lot of chores and not really having any free time even to spend with the kids. So I reached out to some of my friends and also did some research online. All these things, I'm not perfect by no means. I'm just telling you what I learned, and then I'm going to talk with Kevin about this, and we're going to figure out a new plan. So hopefully this house will be run a little bit better with less bickering. You basically just say, hey, this needs to be done, and you're going to do it. Like the don't work, don't eat mentality. Because I said so, and that, it works sometimes, but it's not the best. Basically, when you have a family discussion and you communicate like, hey, these are the things that we need to get done around here to have a happy family, and how can you help? And just kind of reevaluating over time what's working, what's not working, switch chores for people, make things easier for the younger ones to get it done. Anyway, so I kind of really like that, which is kind of what I was thinking about before I did all this research. Number 3 is pretty common. It's the chore charts. Sometimes that really helps with certain kids who need to touch, see, have color coded, like an AM schedule, a PM schedule, or like cards or something like that. This also helps for super organized people, which I am not, and consistent scheduled type people. And also another thing one of my friends mentioned was having, in addition to the chores that they do, having a mom's choice or a parent's choice category, so that, hey, we need to rake the leaves today, dust the top of the fridge and the ceiling fans. Just kind of like an extra that they know they might have or not, so that way you don't get complaining. Another that I had found a few friends did was divide up the chores by sections, like rooms, or like dishes, laundry, living room, hallway, just having different categories that each child is responsible for the week, and then they switch so that they don't get bored and they learn the skills for that room. That way they also have a sense of pride. And like another tip with that is, if you have older and younger kids, sometimes if there's a big room, you could have some of the younger kids be the helper, so that they learn how to do it and it's not so overwhelming for the other child. So number 5, this is a pretty popular one too, is either earning points like marbles in a jar, stickers, or money. So they earn a certain amount and then they can get a reward, or earn electronics time. Especially if you do this with money, a lot of the philosophy behind that is it teaches them how to handle money at a young age, which a lot of people think is really good for the kids to learn before they're teenagers and start blowing it all on silly stuff. 6 is just making a to-do list for the day. That way they just know, hey, I look at my list, I gotta get these things done, and when I'm done, I'm done. That helps for some people too. And then the last one is kind of really different. I have one friend that's done this for a while, and she said it totally changed everything. And the mentality of, well, that's not mine, so I'm not going to do it, or that's not my chore day for that, so I can't help with that. And like the fighting and bickering that comes along with that mentality. So basically it's service time for the family, like calls it blessing hour. And another lady just kind of called it as like family teamwork, just laying out like, hey, if we're gonna have a house that runs great and everybody kind of pitches in because you you want to contribute to get everything done and helping each other. So basically, encourage the kids to help and request and ask. You don't really force it and say, hey, you do this. You're like, hey, we're really behind on the dishes now, and if I could have 2 helpers come do this while the other 2 go clean the living room and straighten that up nice, we could really get this done and be able to maybe play a game later. I'm talking to the phone. Because can you guys go see Justin down the office? See? Thank you.
What's going to? Okay, let's go into baby.
A lot of these different ways to do chores are kind of like business based, and the one gal I was watching said it's more relationship based for this one. Probably gonna be hard to start, but it's more like a service type thing now. Like we all help together, and that way nobody's overburdened. Of course, there's no payment for this. The one particular video I watched said they do get an allowance, but that's completely separate from chores. So those are the 7 that I ran across. I'm sure there's a lot more ways to do chores with kids. You can start them out real young because toddlers are wanting to help, and I've heard multiple times if you start them then instead of saying no, you can't help me, you're not old enough, that you will have a way better time as they get older than if you say no, you can't help me, and then when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, they're used to not helping, and then it's kind of like, whoa, what's happening? And now some of the things I learned along the way. You got to put in the time to teach your kids what to do, because a lot of times they might be overwhelmed not knowing. Like you could say clean the living room, but to like a 5-year-old, they're like, they don't even know where to start, they don't know what's expected. So kind of going through that with them and teaching them, or it can be like one-on-one time with the kid. Say, hey, you and me, we're gonna tackle this room together, and I'll show you what we do to make this room look nice or clean. Another thing is there was lots of like withholding screen time or certain privileges until the chores are done, and also being consistent with that so that they take you serious. With the toddlers, starting out toddlers, they want to help so much, but they can't always do a lot. But if you have them do something that means something, like they'll know if you're just like, oh well, straighten those shoes, like that's not super important as like maybe can you help me put the dishes into the dish drainer. If you're weeding the garden, like here's some weeds, can you put them in the bucket for me so we can carry them out. They want to feel like they're actually contributing something even though they're not capable maybe of as much as other kids. And don't let them see you redoing their work, because that'll totally undermine it in their minds that they what they did wasn't good enough, you know. If you give your kids some of the jobs that like essentials need to be done every week so they don't get forgotten, that helps in the consistency and importance of why we need to do it. Like we need to clean the bathroom every week or else it's disgusting. Is different than, well, we need to organize this pantry cupboard. And also if you switch the jobs around, some kids like to do the same job for months at a time, and some get so bored or they don't like it that much, so rotating around helps a lot with them not getting tired of it and frustrated. Okay, and another thing with being consistent about chores is to make it beneficial to do it on time and right away. Like if you don't sweep the carpet today, you're gonna have to pick it up tomorrow because the kids will have thrown toys on it again. So it's better if you do it today. Like if you're gonna wipe the table before there gets another set of dishes on there, like things like that to encourage timeliness. like a natural consequence if they don't do it right away. Okay, there's a couple more tips. Another thing is with any kind of parenting is you want to remain calm and have a cool head and not get frustrated, because it's the parent's job to implement these. Kind of finding out the reason why they're not doing the chores can help it go a long ways instead of nagging. Like maybe they don't know what they're doing or what to do. Something is too heavy or dangerous. Just like trying to get to the bottom of why they're having such a hard time doing a certain chore. And also, like, you could split it into smaller chunks. Like, the list might be longer, but it's like way more doable. Small things, because some kids need just a little bit at a time so they don't get overwhelmed. And that kind of goes into the fact that your kids' learning style and behavior style can be so different from each other, and so you kind of have to work with that to get the chores done. Another thing is say, hey, kind of giving them an idea of what's going to be changing, what's going to be happening. That way they're not like, whoa, what are you doing this for? You're changing up all of our chores, or I'm doing more chores, or like kind of just sit down with them and explain what's happening and how things could be different, and ask for their input, because they really, like, you might think somebody likes doing dishes but they hate it, but another kid could love doing dishes and hate the bathroom. Just being thankful for their help goes a long way. You don't have to praise them and all that, but just say, hey, I really appreciate what you're doing around here. You really made it easy for me to make dinner tonight because the kitchen wasn't a disaster. Stuff like that. I guess the last one is talking more about training the kids for their chores. Like, I know when I worked, I think it was at Walmart or something, they had SOPs, which is standard operating procedure, like lists. Maybe that was at the dairy farm, I don't know. But anyways, it was a list of like, this job entails these things, and this is the process you need to do it in. So really taking the time to train your kids, say what's expected, maybe write it down so that they know until they learn, or you might have to do it with them a handful of times, and then just really put in the time training them how to do certain things. That way they know it like the back of their hand. It's not like a mental block for them to, and also making sure you have smaller buckets, smaller vacuums, like mini-sized gloves, like things that make it easier for the kids to do it, and not like having to lug a big thing around that like basically overwhelms them. Like when I was a kid, we had a vacuum cleaner that had a huge long cord, and you would pull it with all your might, and it hit the walls, and you get in trouble for it hitting the walls. And just like a small compact vacuum would have gone a long ways for aggravation there. Just kind of being more sensitive to what your kids need, what they think about it. And I mean, of course, I don't even like to do chores sometimes. Oh, the last tip is making things fun if you can. Like when we were kids, we did dishes, but we got to listen to audiobooks, or like Adventures in Odyssey was on during dish time. So that kind of made it fun way to do the dishes. I don't know if you've ever heard of the word gamify, but sometimes that's helpful for people if you can gamify something. You want to tell me how Dad does games for you guys to clean up your room?
And Dad made it so we have to plank. So Dad turns on music, and we have to clean up. And if we're not holding on to something when the music stops, we gotta plank it till it stops again.
Like musical chairs for cleaning up. Cool. And he's done other more creative things too. or you could bring their imagination into it and say, hey, I need some pack mules to come and carry these things down to the office. And just whatever you can do to make it fun. I mean, if they realize that chore time is more lighthearted than serious yelling time, they're definitely going to be more motivated. So I can't wait to show this video to my husband and talk about it and see what we want to do. I hope this was helpful for you and just kind of give you some more ideas of what you could do to kind of streamline and have chores go better in your house. See you next week. Bye.